All right, guys, so I'm going to give you a quick demo of the artwork we're going to do using one-point perspective, what we learned last class. So what you're going to do is try to create something that looks like this, okay? So you're going to do your name, okay? You can either scatter your letters like I did here, or you can kind of do your letters kind of going in a curve, but all of them have to be going towards one vanishing point. In this case, it's the star, so the dot would have been right here in the middle. So you got to make sure that whatever you do, either you do your name like this on the bottom, all of your lines have to go to the vanishing point, okay? So I'm going to give you a quick little demo on how to do this. Okay, so first you're going to kind of somewhere in the middle put your vanishing point. Doesn't have to be perfect, just try to keep it as middle as possible, okay? You're going to use a ruler, okay, to help you with your blocks, and I'm also going to put on Shobi, if I can, this worksheet, okay? You only need the shapes because on the back there's a block letter one, but this one is actually for my 5th and 6th grade class, and they're going to just be doing block letters in one direction, but you're going to be using the letters, but then depending on where your vanishing point, you're going to do the shape or the form going in that direction, okay? So let's say I'm going to pick a 3-letter name. I'm going to keep it simple. So just to give you a really quick example, okay, so I'm going to write the letter. I'm going to start with my shape. Okay, remember your shape is your 2-dimensional form. I'm going to go as quick as I can so I can make this video as short as possible. Okay, so there we have a G. All right. Then we're going to do an O up here. And I know this O is going to look kind of weird, but it's kind of the style O that I do when I do my little graffiti names. You also don't have to copy these. You can go ahead and do your own style, or you can look up some styles on Google and see if there's a style that you really like, and you can copy that. Just make sure that you're only copying the shape of the letters and not the block of the letter, okay? Because your blocks are, again, going to go towards your vanishing point. Okay, so hopefully at this point you can see the word I'm putting in here. Okay, so we got a D now. And now we have the word God. Okay, so now we're going to use our ruler. You're going to find all of your corners, okay, that are facing the vanishing point. So obviously these corners over here are not facing the vanishing point. These are actually facing the vanishing point. So you're going to take your ruler, going to go to each corner, and you're going to lightly draw a line. Okay, so I'm going to do this quickly, but trying to be as accurate as possible so you guys can see a good work. Okay, so notice I'm going to every corner that kind of faces that vanishing point. And with my art style, there's a lot of corners. If you want to simplify your blocks a little bit, that's fine too. Okay, so you guys can see how all these corners all have a line going to the vanishing point. So here, this is a good example. Okay, so here we have a corner that kind of faces the vanishing point. But in this case, if you see this corner and the vanishing point, if your line would be going over your same letter, okay, so if it's going over itself, okay, then you don't draw that line, because that would be a line that would be behind that shape. Okay, so we're just going to draw the line that's here on this side. Okay, boom, and then this one that's here on this side. Boom. Okay, now there's a line up here. I know this is one a little bit tricky because it's not facing the vanishing point, but if you make a line and part of it would be out of the shape, okay, then this part would be there too, okay? Because imagine the box, there's kind of like a rip or a tear. So this part here, you would be able to see the box because it's kind of like a corner that's facing this way, okay? So it's I know it's a little bit tricky, but if you have a corner that you would be able to see that wouldn't overlap itself, then you would do it. Obviously, this part here, you wouldn't draw in, but this part here, since it isn't overlapping the shape, you would draw that line, okay? If you have any questions on that, just ask me while we're having class, and I'll tell you if it yes or no, the line would be visible, okay? So I'm gonna do this quickly here, okay? So again, go through every corner, make sure you draw that line. Okay, in this case here, this lines almost touch each other. All right, but you would still be able to see a piece of it. All right. And there we have all of our lines, okay? So this would be, you would be done with the vanishing point section of it, or the 1 point perspective part. But in our case, okay, we're creating blocks of letters that are kind of going towards or away from that vanishing point. We don't want to just keep the lines going straight to the vanishing point. We want to kind of cut them off so they kind of look like blocks or kind of forms that are either coming out or into the vanishing point. All right, so here is where the things that we were talking about last class are going to come into play. So if your vertical line, your diagonal lines, follow those lines, okay? So here I have a line that goes in this direction. So when I go back here, you can make it as long or as short as you want. I have to make sure that line goes in that direction. So in this line here, I have to make sure that my line goes in that direction, okay? So here, you can see this curve here. That curve would be going in this direction, okay? This line here, okay? So this one here would be vertical. This one here. So this one would actually be a little bit further, like this, okay? So in this case, it's a little bit hard to understand this part, but I actually messed up here. Sorry. All right. So, sorry. Okay, so in this case, okay, I kind of messed up because I was just trying to follow the line, but that's not how it would work, okay? So in this case here, you would have this block. If you notice, this section of the block is in front of this section here, okay? So you have to take that into account. It doesn't have to be perfect, but in this case, this point here, you wouldn't do the curve here. You would do it more inside, okay? Because this part here is inside of this line here, okay? Now this part here is again further from this line here. So this one would be further away. It almost would line up with this one here. Okay, it's gonna make sense when I erase those lines. Okay, this one here, you can see how it goes forward. So this one would go forward, and then we have to follow this line here. All right, now when I erase all these lines, it's gonna make sense. Okay, so you can see how those blocks of shapes are all following the shape of our G. Okay, so that's for that one. Our O here is going to be much easier. So you would erase this line that you did from up here because that one would not be visible because we have this section here. So what you would do is you would follow this curve right there, and that's it. That was an easy one. All right. And now for the D, you would do similar things that you did with the G. So our line here for here, let's start it right there. This line goes in like this. Now this is further in than this corner here. Okay, so we're gonna take that in. Okay, make sure you're following. You see this corner here? You did it here. This is a little bit in, so we got that in. Now we got this one going this way, and then this down like that. Okay, and now we erase. All right, and you would have that, which is very similar to this right here. Okay. All right. All right. Once you've done all that and you've made sure that all of your lines are correct, make sure that everything makes sense as it goes in and out of space, then you're going to just outline everything with your Sharpie and then color with a marker. Okay. If you have any questions, please let me know. I know this is a little bit of a confusing section here, especially when it comes to the back of the letters. So feel free to ask me, but watch the video, see if you can pick up as much as you can from the video. You obviously have these letters too to help you at least the beginning of the letter, and then we can go from there. All right. Have a great day. Ask any questions that you need answered, and I think these will come out really cool. All right. Have a great day.